Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin. Excuse a little bit of red. I can see that I look very sunburned right now. I did get a little bit of sunburn. Oh God, I got a little bit of sunburn this weekend. But we actually don't feel it, and I have lots of aloe plants. This is just a baby that I have right now. But I have lots of aloe plants sitting around that I can put on my sunburn if I need. So we're gonna ignore just how red I am right now. But the purpose of this video is we are right at the start, or just beginning to really harvest from our gardens. And I wanted to talk about the purpose and the use of a dehydrator. So I bought my dehydrator from a thrift store about 5 years ago. Actually, I think my best friend convinced me to buy it because I'm like, oh no, I don't need one. And she's like, Caitlin, you do. And she wasn't a gardener. I don't think I'd ever actually use a dehydrator herself, but she was like, you keep growing these things, you're gonna need one. She convinced me to buy it. It was $15. Like I said, I've had it for about 5 years and it works great. Now, before I get into why you need a dehydrator, let's talk about dehydrators themselves. So, in the homesteading world, if you're on any of the homesteading channels, there is a famous dehydrator, a very popular dehydrator called the Excalibur. And that has a lot of nice pros and cons to it. But if you are brand new to dehydrating, you've never had a dehydrator before, you can get by. I guarantee you can find one at a yard sale. I found mine at a thrift store, on Facebook Marketplace. Go buy a used one first. This one, like I said, is $15. I think I've had it for 5 years. It works great. I love it. If at any point this one stopped working, I would go, my next dehydrator would be an Excalibur. They can run anywhere, I've seen anywhere from like $50 all the way up to like $200, depending on the kind of model you get. And that might have changed. I haven't honestly looked in probably over a year. But that's where I would go if I needed to purchase a brand new dehydrator, knowing as much as I do about dehydration. But I'm not going to go buy one until the one I have, which, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't, would give out. So if you decide to watch this video and decide you're going to get into dehydrating this year, just go find a cheap dehydrator. Don't break the bank. Don't go buy a fancy one until you know if you're going to use it and how much you're going to use it. So when you have your garden harvest coming in, there are a ton of things, A, that you can dehydrate, or B, things that would normally be considered waste that you can dehydrate into something else. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite things that I dehydrate and why the dehydrator is such a required homestead item for me. I will never homestead without a dehydrator. And maybe get you on the bandwagon of doing some dehydrating. So the first thing with the dehydrator is your spices. So I have parsley here. I have oregano, and I didn't get all of my stuff out. Let's be clear. I have a lot of jars here right now, and I didn't get everything out. But you definitely can dehydrate your own. What are these called? Herbs. And I also do like to hang herbs from my dining room chandelier. 100%. The only thing with that is it does take longer for them to dry out, and 2, you have dust and hair collecting on them. So typically I hang my herbs on my chandelier. I have a bunch of rosemary that's been hanging there since like last September. I don't know if it's ever gonna come down, but at this point there's so much dust on that, there's so much hair on that, that would never actually be a used item, a kitchen item. So I do like putting my herbs through the dehydrator, drying them out completely, and then putting them in like a blender or a food processor until you pulverize them, and then you have an herb. With dehydrating, what I think is really fun is you can kind of start simple and kind of like build up what you do. So for instance, I dehydrate a lot of my herbs. I can then go and make my own like Italian seasoning. I can go make my own spices, my spice mixes based on the herbs that I can dehydrate. It also gives you the capability to use some things that you wouldn't necessarily use any other time. So one of those is my green garlic. So this is garlic powder, And this is the leaves from my garlic plants. So last year I grew garlic and I love to use those leaves in soups and stews. I had so many leaves. I saved a whole bunch for the freezer. I put them in soups, I put them in stews, I used them in broth, I used them in a ton of different places. But I also dehydrated and then ground up these leaves to serve as green garlic powder. So typically, obviously, garlic powder is made with garlic, but this, let me see, I think it's a more milder. Yeah, it's a little bit more mild garlic flavor. And I'm not a huge garlic person, so I do like that. But this was a great way to use up those leaves so they didn't go to waste, or I didn't kind of like put them in the freezer and then lose them. I did the same thing. Here they are. This is the same thing, but with onions. So this is green onion top powder. That smells so good. It smells just like an onion. So again, I did the same thing. You can tell these are actually harvested different times in the season. This first patch was the first, I always give my onions a haircut. This was the first round of the haircut, and then you can see the leaves got darker for the second round. So I always thought that was funny. But having a dehydrator allowed me to do this, to take those leaves, which again, I do use in many other places, but I have such an abundance of leaves typically that I like to use them in all these different ways. So they allow me to use my own herbs, and then I can add my own onion powder, my own garlic powder to other spice mixes. And it takes what you grow in the homestead and kind of makes it go a little bit further. And I think if you're on this path with me, or even if you're just a gardener, you want to be able to kind of save money at the grocery store by purposing or repurposing everything that's coming in out of your garden. So this dehydrator is a great way to do it. You can use your oven, and you can, like I said, hang things out to dry 100%. And I do hang things up to dry. Hold on. Isn't this fun? My parents got me this for Christmas, and I'm so excited. So it's an herb drying rack, and it's huge. It goes on and on. My parents got me this for Christmas, and I am beyond excited to use this. I'm actually going to hang it up this weekend and put it to use. So that I use typically for like hanging herbs, stuff like that. And what I'm going to use that for is, like, I have chamomile coming in. I'm just going to pick the chamomile and throw it in that herb drying rack. When I have flowers that I want to dry, maybe for a potpourri, you know, rose petals are medicinal. You can use them in rose petal tea. So if I want to dry rose petals, I can put them in there. And if you don't want to use a dehydrator, that's a great backup plan. So that is an option you can do. Again, just be mindful you don't leave it up for months and months and let bugs and dirt and all that stuff get on it. And then you can use your stove. You can kind of set your stove at a really low setting and slowly like dry things out. I don't know if my stove actually goes that low to do that. I don't know. But then too, it will heat up your house. And for me, I don't want to heat up my house in the dead of summer. I want to keep my house as cool as possible. So I try not to turn that stove on if I don't have to in summer. So that's where my dehydrator comes in. So let's keep talking about what else we can hydrate. So we've gotten away from the herbs, sticking to kind of the bulbs of the plant. We talked about the garlic leaves, garlic powder. So if you're growing garlic, this is a great way to use your garlic. Separate your garlic heads, dehydrate them, and grind them up if you so choose. And then furthermore, oh, I missed a couple of things. Hold on. I remembered some things I had to grab. So you can dehydrate garlic, dehydrating garlic, and then you can dehydrate onions to make your own onion powder. We'll sync up the house, go put it into like a garage. If you can plug it in outside, it will sync up your house. But that's a great option to do. I also love to dehydrate my kale. So last year I dehydrated my kale. I'm still trying to get in the habit of using it. I love it. I did a big container. This is what's left, so I need to use it more often. But I love dehydrating kale and then dumping this into anything unsuspected. And this is a great way to get nutrition in food. So I put this into like when I make pierogies, I put this in a chicken noodle soup, I put this in everywhere, and I dehydrate it and pulverize it so it's like the size of like parsley. And so it kind of looks like parsley, but it's just giving you a little bit more nutrition. Dehydrating does suck up some of the nutrition that plants have, but it's still, I think it's still worth the effort, and you're still getting a little extra boost of nutrition. So I do like taking this kale, this dried kale, and sneaking it in other dishes. Let's see, let's go in order. I just have more herbs here. I got a lot of herbs out. Okay, I got all of my herbs out. So that's, I think, the most common options for dehydrated is definitely your herbs, your onions, and your garlic. And then kale, I think, is a fun addition. This year, I'm gonna shred and dehydrate cucumbers and zucchini. I'm gonna keep them separate. That way, I can hopefully have, I can add the zucchini into dishes just like I do the kale, just to give it a little bit nutritional boost. And then the cucumber, the dehydrated cucumber, I'm hoping I could add that into like a sour cream and kind of make a Tzatziki sauce throughout the year, even if I don't have fresh cucumber. And then every now and then I do like to have a cucumber if I make like a sushi bowl or a ramen bowl or something like that. So I'm hoping I could maybe rehydrate that enough that it'll be a passable cucumber without me having to go to the store. So that's this year's experiments. Other things though that you can dehydrate. Peppers. So first of all, cayenne peppers and paprika peppers are a type of pepper. I think I bought both of mine from Baker Creek with my seeds. As you can see, I have a lot of cayenne. I don't need any more. I don't use too much cayenne. And then I didn't get my paprika out, but I have a good amount of paprika too. But these are peppers that you can grow yourself, dehydrate, grind up, and this spice is almost free for you. It's just the cost of the pepper, or the pepper plant. So I do like growing my own peppers for spices. I also do my own crushed red pepper flakes. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't done crushed red pepper flakes in a couple years. I don't go through them that often. I have a 1 quart jar that I fill up, and it takes me a couple years to work through that 1 quart jar. I'm not a big spice person, so like a little bit for me goes a very long way. But for that, I typically use Thai chili peppers for my crushed red pepper seasoning. So again, if you don't have these things in your garden, you can always it's honestly probably so early enough, you could still go buy one of these plants from a local nursery, or you can start planning for next year. Dehydrate what you have and then kind of make plans for next year for how you want to take your garden and make it go a step further. Speaking of taking your garden and going a step further, let's go this route. So this, and I haven't used this very much, I'll be honest, but it's so good. It smells so good. It smells so spicy, but it smells so good. These are the skins of Sugar Rush peaches. And boy, do they smell good. So I made a Sugar Rush peach hot sauce. I think I actually gave it away. I think I got too afraid. I think I tried it as I was cooking it and I died. So I'm pretty sure I gave that away. But I dehydrated the leftover skins and the leftover innards from those peppers. What was left over after making the hot sauce, and I wound up with this. Now you can tell I haven't dehydrated or I haven't pulverized this. I should do this a little bit more. I think if I did dehydrate it, or not dehydrate it, I think if I did pulverize it, I would use it a little bit more. But it's a lot of this little bit of seeds and the skins, and it smells fantastic. So this is a great way to, so I do this one. I have this one. I've used it a little bit. It smells really good. But I've used this one the most. This is Tabasco powder. So again, I did the exact same thing. I used the leftovers from making Tabasco hot sauce, and I dehydrated them, ground them up into a Tabasco powder, and I use this one often. Again, a little, this was full, and this I did 2 years ago, so I've used that much. I am not a spice person in any sort of way, so it takes me a while to use spice. But what I really like about these, and keeping on this pepper route, is at the end of the season, I think I have used all of that one. At the end of the season, as your peppers start getting smaller, kind of more sickly looking, you get tired of canning, maybe I check off as many things as I want, and then kind of when I've checked off I need to have all of this in the freezer, and I've checked all of them off, and I still have peppers coming in, I kind of like throw up my hands. I'm like, what do I do with all these peppers? And so when I'm really just done, I don't care. I dehydrate them. I put all the peppers, I leave everything, I leave the tops on, I throw the whole pepper in the dehydrator, and I dehydrate the whole pepper. And then when they're done, I take the stems off, but then I pulverize them and I make my own pepper spice blend. And what I really like about that is you can make it as spicy, not as spicy as you want. You can add in other spices. You can add in some of your herbs, but you can really customize a spice blend to your family's liking. I made one a couple years ago that was amazing. So that's a great way to make sure the peppers that are coming that you're kind of just like, I don't care about, I don't want to do anything with them, dehydrate them, and then you can let them sit for a little bit. Like, you don't have to pulverize them right away. Put them in a bag, let them sit, and then you can come back to them later, pulverize them, and make your own little spice blend. But these are things that you're not going to find in the store. You're not going to find Tabasco powder in the store. And I think sometimes Tabasco powder and Tabasco sauce have different uses. I prefer to put Tabasco sauce on something, like maybe on eggs while I'm eating it, but Tabasco powder I prefer to cook with. So that's just my personal opinion. I also did sriracha salt. I actually did a whole bunch of salts for my girlfriends for Christmas. I did a sriracha salt, a chili lime salt, I forget what else. I did salts. And now I will be honest, these salts I put on a sheet pan and I put them in the oven for a couple of days and just like let them sit, because I don't like to run my dehydrator when I'm not home. But this is something I 100% could have just put in the dehydrator and it would have been a lot faster. It was just a busy time in my life and I couldn't be home to watch it. But again, sriracha salt, chili lime salt, you need to dehydrate the lime, you need to dehydrate the sriracha. And I was able to do this with my dehydrator. You could do it with your dehydrator. I didn't, but you could. So these are things you can't buy at the store, and I really like that. 2 more items I want to talk about, and these are making your garbage waste go farther. Stay with me here. This is tomato paste. So let me show you how, I think that is just so pretty. And I have to smell it because we're smelling everything today. Smells good. This is tomato paste. This does not smell as good as the Sugar Rush Peach Skins, but it smells good. So when you process tomatoes, however you do it, and I know I don't do it by the book, but you are left with tomato skins, tomato parts, tomato skins. Sometimes I get a couple pieces of tomato that I pick out of the sauce. I don't know. You're left with tomato pieces at the end of your canning process. You make your tomato soup, you make your sauce, you make your spaghetti sauce, and you have this tomato waste. Dehydrate it. You get tomato paste. So I dehydrate it. I put it out in parchment paper in my dehydrator. My dehydrator doesn't have a temperature. I just plug it in. When it's all dried, make sure it's all crispy. I, again, pulverize it. And now I have tomato paste. So I do 2 things with this. This is first and foremost tomato paste. Take a tablespoon of this, a tablespoon of water, and I have tomato paste. And so that's one thing I hated buying, because you buy like a little container of tomato paste and you only need a tablespoon of tomato paste. So I feel like I wasted a lot of tomato paste, first of all. And second of all, I'm all about taking what I grow in my garden and making it go farther. So this is something that would have gone in the garbage, and now it doesn't have to. So it makes my own tomato paste. So now I always have a shelf-stable tomato paste. I rehydrate this, I have tomato paste. The other thing I like to do with this is if I want to add tomato flavor, but not tomatoes to anything. I'm talking maybe meatloaf. I'm talking some pastas. I did just make a pasta dish where I added some of this because I kind of wanted to taste a little tomatoey, but I didn't want to add spaghetti sauce or tomato sauce or even tomatoes to it. I can add this. I like this idea, and I haven't done this yet, but I really want to do like a fettuccine Alfredo and put this in the Alfredo sauce. I think I kind of make like a pink sauce. I think that would be really good. I haven't done it yet. But I do 100% love to add this to things, add it to burgers, add it to chicken dishes, put it in the taco meat. Again, you're getting more nutrition and you're getting some good flavor. So this is a great way, one of my favorite ways to not waste those tomato skins. Speaking of not wasting, we're going to come to our last product, which is what we're doing right now, at least what I'm doing, which is fruit skins. Okay, don't be grossed out. So I just made, I'll show you, I just made a whole bunch of raspberry jam. And raspberry jam has seeds. Well, raspberries have seeds. So this is the only thing that I strain out completely. So I do strain my raspberries, and I am left with this like mush of seeds and berry skins. This is actually almost done. It's still a little pliable, but I was left with all of this and I didn't want to throw this away. So I had it going in my dehydrator. It's not quite done because you can see it's not crunchy. It's just kind of bending for me. But I had this going in my dehydrator. Well, what are you going to do with that, Caitlin? Let me tell you. So I love dehydrated fruit powder. Okay, fruit powder. Now again, I haven't dehydrated this yet. This is actually this is one of my jars from, I think, last year. This is so good. This is strawberry. Let me actually taste it. It's not strawberry leather. It's strawberry tree bark. It's strawberries. It's the same thing. So I made, what did I make last year? I made strawberry juice for the freezer. And I was left with, like mushed strawberries. And again, I didn't want to get rid of that. So you can buy, if you see the bottom, these are freeze-dried strawberries. Now last year, I did dehydrate sliced strawberries, ground them up. I've used them all up. They didn't last me very long because they're so good. But you can buy freeze-dried strawberries with one of the purposes of grinding them up and using them in bacon, putting them in icings, putting them in cakes, putting them in pancakes, you know, putting them in all kind of baked goods to give it that strawberry flavor. Well, when I tell you, this strawberry tree bark that I have right now packs a punch. My mouth, I'm kind of having a little bit of watering going on. It's not fun to eat because it's very dry, but it very much, my mouth has like, it's water and it's very strawberry. So this, I grind up as I use it. Like I said, I've used the dehydrated strawberries that I did last year. I had a lid. Oh, here it is. But that's what I'm doing with all of my fruit this year. So I typically always do strawberries. I love to do strawberries. I do, every July 4th, I do a strawberry poke cake. I typically use strawberry gelatin, but this year I'm going to grind up my strawberries and put it actually into the cake batter to make a strawberry cake batter. And I think that'll be delicious. So another product, and especially if you are making jam or if you're left with any strawberry pieces, or just take strawberries and dehydrate strawberries whole. You have a ton coming in, or you've picked a ton, you don't know what to do with them. Great way, dehydrate them, dry them, powder them up, and then you can use them in a ton of different things. So that's what that raspberry waste is going to be. I'm going to get that dried up. I'm going to get that completely ground up, and we're going to have raspberry powder. Then again, we can put it into so many different things. We can put it into cookies. I make a Neapolitan cookie with my strawberry powder, and it's really, when you're baking, it really comes in handy. It really is delicious. It's a great way to kind of experiment and play with your food. I love to play with my food. So a dehydrator is something that I think if you're a true gardener, in the sense of you want to grow food for your family, you want to take your garden and make it produce as much as it can, I think that if you don't have a dehydrator, you're not going to regret one. It is a great way to preserve product, but it's a great way to preserve product when you don't feel like it. You know, you're at the end of the season, you're tired, you don't care. Even if you're in the middle of the season, maybe you're just so busy, throw things in the dehydrator. It's a great way to get something else out of that product. And so something doesn't go to waste. Rather use it in some way than let it go to waste in another way. So that's today's spiel. If you don't have a dehydrator, get a dehydrator. If you have a dehydrator already and you do something that I haven't mentioned, please let me know what you're doing. I am always looking for other ways to dehydrate things. I've gone kind of down the rabbit hole of other ways to dehydrate, other things to dehydrate, and I've thought of them in my head, but I haven't done them yet. So if there's something I haven't listed here, please let me know what you do, and maybe I can get on that bandwagon with you this year. So thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.